If you've come here looking for Cordkillers, you're so close. This is the other show we do at Cordkillers.com. Cordkillers itself tells you how to watch, what you want, when you want, where you want. That's also at Cordkillers.com. This is Spoilerin time, where you get to indulge talking about the whole reason we deal with all of that technology, all of those devices, all of those streaming services, to watch the stuff and talk to each other about it. I'm Tom Merritt, joining me, Mr. Brian Brushwood, as always. How you doing?
Oh, heck yeah. More importantly, we have to put a button on our summer movie draft and crown the winner! Who is the winner gonna be? I wonder.
I don't think you won.
Is the winner me?
Yes. Yes, the winner is you.
Yeah, winner is you.
And definitely one for the rule books. And as I said on Twitter, there's no what ifs. The rules are the rules, and Night Attack won fair and square and deserves congratulations. Congratulations, Night Attack, on a well-deserved victory.
I'm waiting for the butt. You got big old sticky butt.
No, there's no butt.
Sure?
Why you got to talk about my butt?
I think you're going to take all your campaign money and put it to lobbying to change the rules.
For the winter draft and summer draft of next year, will I be promoting something that I'd like to call Harley's Law? That would allow the final 3 million needed to catch Night Attack to have been counted. Sure. Maybe I'll be doing that. But that's for the future. Let's not ruin your moment, Brian.
Can we take a moment to sing the real hero out of this whole story? Movie League Mike wrote this epic, 5-page recap of how everything broke down and how close this year was. 0.9% difference between Team Night Attack and Team DTNS. Unprecedented. And he goes on to break down how every single player in the movie draft determined the winner. It was any one of us could have done the tiniest thing different, and it would have been a totally different story.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it is the first time, I think, am I wrong in this? I think it's the first time where we've gone up to the final day. Right?
Oh yeah, as little as one more. Certainly that weekend, if it had gone just that weekend longer, you would have been the winner. But it didn't, so you're not.
Well, and the reason the law has been 4 weeks is because we always felt like that's plenty of time. The movie makes the majority of its money in that amount of time, and so it should never need to make a difference. And we need to have a cutting off point so we can have some time to get ready for the next one. It is a very unusual circumstance to have it still matter at that 4 weeks.
Yeah. Unprecedented almost. I guess only once before in the Winter League did it get this close. Speaking of which, we got to get take two. We have to start picking the movies for the winter movie draft, which has to happen.
and talk about the rules.
No, the rules are great.
Yeah,
the rules are great.
I don't know. I think they could use some review in light of recent events. That's all
Tom,
I'm saying.
You're a gentleman. You're a gentleman who lost with honor. Justin and I poop on your grave with
I know you do.
Solemn appreciation.
And I just lay there as a corpse holding up some toilet paper. Shall we move on to spoiler in some stuff?
Yeah, man. Speaking of excreting on a grave, we got to see that in a certain episode of Mr. Robot. We have two episodes.
Didn't we?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about episodes 9 and 10 of season 2 of Mr. Robot, as we missed last week. So we'll be catching up on both of those. How could we not? I'll be honest. I watched them back to back this weekend, and it was really nice not to have to wait for a week because I was unavailable. I was unable to get the episodes easily while I was on my trip. And gosh, I feel like this season just gets better and better as we go on.
Yes, it does. And I'm going to be very cautious in how I express this because everyone says, why does Brian poop on everything? And the answer is because if the whole show was us just saying, wasn't it great? Yeah, it's great. Then that would be a very boring show.
And also you're just being honest. If you don't like something, you're not going to pretend you don't.
Yeah, no, I do like it. I love it. It's great. It's awesome storytelling. And in a meta, let's pull back and look at the big picture. They're doing something wonderful in that they're starting off with a very small, specific story a story that's about one person's broken brain, and it started off as Fight Club, but it's becoming The Road Warrior. We are inching closer to a story of maybe not The Road Warrior, but Mad Max. A lot of people don't remember. If you haven't watched Mad Max recently, it's not deserts and everybody fighting over gasoline. There's some semblance of the crumbling middle-class livelihood that they're having. And, Max is a cop in this world. It could be that we're heading into Mad Max territory, because have you noticed that there's increasing numbers of piles of garbage in every shot to indicate the decaying nature? There's the lines to the ATMs and all that stuff. I think there's some really, really cool territory that they can move into.
Well, and what I also love about this, and this has become, as I said before, at least in the first half of the season, a post-apocalyptic scenario, is that life continues to be normal also. People still go to nice dinners. People still hang out in bars. People are still out on the streets walking around. We don't go immediately, as sometimes you see, into like people running around and shooting at each other and hiding in the streets and everything's falling apart. It is a more realistic decay where small things aren't working. You can't buy things with cash anymore. They're really not picking up the garbage as much these days. And that's how it happens. It's a slow decline that catches up with you. I find that infinitely more believable. And we have also turned this into a manhunt story. This especially in these last two episodes, it became the FBI's hunt to find F Society.
Well, specifically, Ollie. Sorry, what's the name of that kid?
Tyrell Wellick?
No. Well, it was certainly Tyrell Willick, but the white rapper kid that gave the CD.
Cisco.
Is that his name?
Yes.
Man, didn't even register. So let's go in order. First of all, the episode that we saw last week was the snapback where we got filled in on everything that was happening as far as Elliot being in prison. We saw why he went to prison. We saw what the offense was. We saw him plead guilty despite his lawyer's best efforts, and we understood why, because we understood he wanted to be in a safe place away from Mr. Robot. This was a defense mechanism to keep Mr. Robot from doing anything. And then, of course, we got to see all of the rigid aspects of his reality played out a second time through a new lens. That was fun. It left, I would say, substantially unresolved circumstances. How can I put this? Number one, it also put a very clear timeline of 18 months between the end of season 1 and where we are now in the story. 18 months seems long enough for society to have been rocked but not crumbled.
He didn't serve the full 18 months.
Oh no, that's right. That's right. He was sentenced 18 months, but he only served like two.
2.5, like 86 days or something. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I stand corrected. But he leaves, and I guess we get the revelation that it's the warden running the Silk Road site, and I guess he just is like, bye. You've got lots of evidence, and I'm running a massive criminal empire here.
Well, okay, yeah.
So long, Elliot.
I don't know if we've seen the end of this story yet, because yes, we see the warden, and so we're like, oh, he was the warden, but there is also the element of Elliot's dream world where the person who we now know as the warden got busted. So I was assuming, and I may be wrong here, that what happened was the warden got busted and taken away, and then Elliot got reprieved. And they said it was because they couldn't manage all of these cases anymore, but maybe there was a little something of, hey, you helped bust this corrupt warden, so we're going to go easy on you.
Yeah, I think they said that there was just overcrowding, essentially.
And they did. They said after 5-9, just kind of all bets were off.
Yeah.
And
they said very directly, you have 5-9 to thank for this. And Elliot's like, well, actually, I pulled off 5-9. So
you mean I got me to thank to this? Thank you, Dad.
plus any Dark Army connections.
Yes. Oh, so speaking of which, I love the fact at the beginning of this season, I was not thrilled with just sort of this wedging of, and of course we all know who about the Dark Army, right? It's like when they introduce a new character and all the characters act like everybody always knew that one character. But I do like it in that it's a mysterious bad guy, truly bad guy force, where all of a sudden FBI, not necessarily the bad guy, E-Corp, not necessarily the bad guy, Our hacker group, not necessarily a bad guy. Dark Army, definitely bad guys. And I like where they're going with that.
Well, and the Dark Army was referenced in season 1, right? So it's not like it's brand new.
Sure. Again, there's a difference between referenced versus, like we never saw those masks, and we didn't see them as a potent a player in this game. They
were the people that F Society needed to pull off the hack, though. And so to me, it feels like, oh, now we're learning more about why the Dark Army helped them and their plans for that.
Yes. Oh, doggone it. There was something I was going to say about the Dark Army, but I've forgotten it now.
Well, you were saying that you like the fact that they are the only evil, like that we have a very clear bad guy. Everybody else
for
is
the
in kind of
moment.
a
I wouldn't be
gray area.
surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if things evolve and there's a different only evil or whatever. The opening bit. What do you think of our? I want to call him the chairman of the Fed, but because he reminds me of that guy.
Our Ben Bernanke character.
Yeah. Ben Bernanke. Like
Poor man's Ben Bernanke.
His opening. Oh, I remember what. Pause on that. Let me dial back. Another thing we got is after that moment when it became clear that Christian Slater, Mr. Robot, was telling Elliot, "Look, I'm doing this to protect you," and Elliot kind of breaks down and was like, "Thank you." Then it becomes kind of like a buddy cop thing that they're working together. But now they're injecting this thread of like something's broken, and he catches him talking without permission or without his knowledge, and he's losing time again to kind of indicate there's something else off going on.
I'm split on that. On the one hand, I love the idea of adding a new element to his multiple personality disorder, which leaves us a new aspect. It's starting to get old to have Christian Slater hanging out, over the shoulder sometimes. And so having a glitch where Elliot doesn't realize that Mr. Robot has taken over, and we get to see what happens there where he thinks he's still brushing his teeth. Having it be a glitch where we see Mr. Robot and Elliot flipping back and forth, I wasn't sure I liked that so much.
Yeah, that, my favorite transformations are the ones that happen off screen.
Yeah.
In the movie 2010, David Bowman comes back, or some apparition of him, and they never show him changing, but every time they cut away, they cut back, and he's much, much older. And there was something wonderful about what was not shown in that. And in this case, I agree. The artistic, especially for something that values aesthetics so much like Mr. Robot, that seemed a little bit kind of sideways.
I do like that we are starting to pursue Wellick a little more. I felt like that was a red herring for a while, and now it's turning out to be something. Like there is an address, and Ms. Wellick's assistant looked at that address and recognized it immediately. Do you have any guesses what that is?
No, and I don't think we're supposed to have a guess. I hope we're not supposed to have a guess because, the easy thing to go through is like, oh, it's all another part of the black hole of Elliot's mind. But I don't think we want that to be the case.
Well,
right?
and it's not, the other thing would be like, it's coming from inside the house. That's the Wellick's address. But also that would be something that I think Elliot would recognize, right? He would look at it and go, oh yeah, that's where we were just a while ago.
Yeah. Okay. Which, real quick, let me give the disclaimer that Darren Kitchen's one of the best people on the planet Earth, and the rubber ducky is a delightful device that is really, really good for penetration testing and very, very clever. Also, I understand more than most the need for compromise when you are working with television people to tell story. Also, for a show that works so hard to represent hacking correctly, that's not how rubber ducky works. It ain't a flash drive. You don't download nothing on there. That's not, no. Mr. Robot, no.
Fair enough.
It's out of my system. My system.
All right, good. You feel better now?
I
mean, it could work that way.
It's fine.
It's not like it's impossible.
And I guess real quick, let's give some real talk here. What makes the rubber ducky so incredibly clever is that it doesn't get recognized as a hard drive at all, because Windows and Apple and all that stuff, they don't just let any old hard drive instantly connect. There's a reason when you plug in your camera or your phone, it says, "Hey, whoa, do you want to trust this thing? This is something that has data on it that could corrupt me." And so you're like, "Yes, no, I know it's my thumb drive." The rubber ducky only just says, "Hi, I'm a keyboard." And the computer is just like, "Keyboard, get in here, man." That's why when you plug in a mouse or something, it just instantly goes in because it's a human interface device, HID. But then the moment it gets connected, it's like, since I'm just a keyboard, let me just do some keyboard stuff, like press start, open, run, command. I'm just gonna write a real quick program right here with my keyboard skills, doing keyboard stuff, and it writes all that stuff, and you're able to open ports and set up back doors and all that stuff. Which again, I don't expect them to go into in the show, but it's just a really cool gizmo. The rubber ducky is legit.
What did you think of the whole Cisco Darlene relationship? That felt abrupt for me, that Darlene suddenly decided she needed to do the right thing and hang out at the hospital. She's been so damn careful about being caught. And then she goes to a hospital and not only drops the guy off, but waits around to find out if he's okay.
I don't think that was out of the goodness of her heart. I think that was to keep an eye on things, because when he wakes up, she needs to mitigate what he says. That is like, you're either going to eliminate him from the picture at all, or you're going to keep him very, very close.
I totally expected her to just cold-hearted eliminate and continue Darlene down the path that she started by pushing the other girl into the water.
Yeah, I think Mr. Robot thrives on the middle space between those extremes. You know, nobody's irredeemable, I think, in Mr. Robot, and also nobody's incorruptible. I think that's why Angela's become more interesting as she tries to wreak havoc from within. And yeah, I bought everything they did.
See, okay, that was the part that bothered me the most of both of these episodes. Is like, I just didn't see them sticking around in a hospital and risking that, because they had to know. I mean, they already do know that the FBI is after them. The negotiation of them not seeing the bolo out for them and them getting caught at the diner, if I buy that they're going to go to the hospital, that all I thought was handled well.
Yes. And again, can I state for the record, I love Mr. Robot. I think it's very well shot. I understand the limitations of television program. That shootout at the end might have been pushing the seams of their production budget. Maybe because I had it, on a 37-inch 1080 screen right in front of me, but it looked a little bit like a turquoise Jeep video level of bullet holes being animated onto the. No, not me. Okay, yes. DCTV 66556 says it was composited as F word. Yeah, that's.
I did not notice that watching it on the 50-inch TV.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen like the GIFs and stuff afterwards. You can tell that there is some compositing because, of course, they're not using real guns and stuff.
Right.
But also that scene is very well composed in terms of like the guy doesn't shoot until the timer counts down to 0, and the restaurant sign, when they shoot it, changes to the word lies or another word or something. Like,
sure.
There's a lot going on, and we're going to see 2 other angles of that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Also, a lot of ketchup. So maybe that's...
Yeah, well, we've jumped to the end of the second episode because the first, or of the 2 episoms that we watched.
Yeah, we're blurring them all together. Sorry about that.
No, but that's fine. I mean, that's hopefully it's blurred for everyone else as well. Dom's story. Dom just continues to be a hero to me. I love watching everything that she does. Love that she's dealing with bureaucracy, and I even love that it kind of makes sense. I love that her superior is like, "Hey, man, we tried your way. This is we got to do something public. We got to save face here. This is what's happening." And it's like, yeah, but I love that she also is unconcerned with that ruling and is just taking stuff into her own hands.
Well, and also she ends up kind of being wrong, because her thing is, if you put the face out there, then they will run, and by accident they don't see the bolo,
right?
So they don't run,
right? I am a bit bummed that now that Cisco's dead, I guess there was nothing.
Do we know he's dead?
Well, we saw his head explode and blood go over
Did we?
A little
Okay,
bit.
I must not have been paying close enough attention. Maybe I was a little jet lagged because
Yeah.
that scene did not play as badly, nor do I remember seeing Cisco's head blow up. But
Well,
People have
trust
gone
you
through
that
and
it did.
looked through the frames, and he's definitely the main first target.
correct. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I saw. Which is
we
a
know
bum-
Dom's alive because she's in the previews.
Well, and
And she
also
walked out
because
at the end.
also because she walked out and was
Oh,
shooting
she also
at
walked out.
because
Yeah,
because she also shot the guy. But it's a bummer because maybe this will pay off later, and I don't think it's Mr. Robot's style to have threads unnecessarily. But that whole if Cisco's dead, then what was the point of that whole injecting him underneath the fingernail, breaking it off, putting it on, having a bandage over it? What was the point of that whole torture scene with him in the Dark Army? I mean, that just went nowhere. He just wore a bandage for the next few days before he died.
Yeah, I imagine that will be an autopsy point.
Could
Yeah.
be. There's still time. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
good.
Because it could be maybe they put a tracking chip in him, and
Well,
that's how they found where he was.
Oh
so
yeah,
quick.
maybe that's the way they knew where
Actually,
he was.
that would be good. That would pay it off. Gambling Man says it's just nail torture. Do what you're told. If that were the case, I would expect in the storytelling process for us to twist a little bit more. Like if the purpose was for us to be afraid of the Dark Army, then they should have made that more painful for us to watch to
It also-
really drive the point
It
home.
also feeds into how brutal they are. I mean, you've seen twice now unsuccessful shooters kill themselves in the middle of an active shooter.
Sure.
round.
Well, and
It's a
again,
brutality play.
if
partially.
the point was to play up the brutality, that it should have been a more brutal scene than it was. Instead, it was just slightly gross.
I guess
like
so. They're also efficient.
I think the only other thing that I can think of we should touch on is the Angela Elliott kiss.
It was a great moment.
Yeah.
That was a great moment and totally unexpected because Mr. Robot in general, there's only one sexy character in the show. She's very, very sexy, but it's Tyrell Willick's wife.
Joanna?
Joanna, sure. And she's a bizarre, but that moment was so tender and honest and vulnerable and sweet and I don't want to say sexy, but it's like that felt like a real first kiss to me. That whole scene, like all of a sudden I was transported back to being in 10th grade, going on this close-up trip to Washington, and there was this girl who I knew for 2 days, and there was only one kiss, and it was like that, I thought it was great.
Yeah. No, I thought it was a great scene too. And I didn't see it coming until they were standing there. And I'm like, oh, crap. I think they're actually going to, look at that. He totally did. And it feels like the right beat because nothing between Angela and Elliot happens at the right time. And so then that is not the right time for that. Like they can't carry on with that. Angela's going off and Elliot may never see her again, or he may, but it's certainly not for sure.
Ken from Chicago says, and I can't tell if he's being sarcastic. He says it was about as sweet as Elliot and Darlene hugging outside of prison. I hope he's not being sarcastic because that was really sweet too.
Yeah, it was. And even with our little nitpicks, which, you got to do, or there's really nothing to talk about. I think this is shaping up to be a fantastic season, and I can't wait to watch the next episode.
I really, really dug. It was not subtle, but very in character. Like Kmart Ben Bernanke is a bit of a cartoon character. And I can't tell if he's poorly acted or brilliantly acted because there's something off-putting about the way he delivers his lines that takes me out of it. And I don't know if that just makes me believe him all the more as this guy that just is out of sync with the rest of the world.
Yeah, because you could look at it as, I have known that awkward executive.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? But in character with that over-the-top, like, okay, I guess, is the Nazi propaganda, literal Nazi propaganda he has up behind him in his opening thing when Kmart John C. Dvorak comes in and gives him his book, and the Nazi propaganda shows like a defenseless Germany being attacked on all sides by racist stereotypes of Russians and stuff. I thought it was great.
Did you like his little power soliloquy?
I kind of didn't, but I kind of loved that he did it. I thought it was a little too over the top, and it took me out of it. But also, I wouldn't cut it for the world.
I think it belongs right in there with that. Is he overacting or isn't he? Like, I feel like that character would say that, and that it would come off a little bit like overdone.
Yeah,
because that's who he is.
I agree. I am reserving judgment. Like, I don't know if I like it, but I'll watch every frame of it.
I do like that they had him stand up to the Dark Army in a believable way that says, I know your game, and I am, the White Rose, and I am going to play it and win. Yeah. Versus, I know your game and let me help you, or I don't know your game, I'm shocked, and oh no, you forced me to do something, which is usually what you get.
DCTV 98427 in the chat is saying, wait, I thought there was just World War II stuff. Yes, it's World War II, but it's clearly sympathetic to, if you look, it's a map, and all of the countries are aggressive, we're going to get you, Germany, and poor Germany is just like, hey man, I'm just doing what's right.
It was the Treaty of Paris did this to me. It's the Weimar Republic. I blame them. All right. Shall we move on to Justified then?
Yes, we shall.
Episode 8, Season 3. We will do 2 episodes next week. Episodes 9 and 10 next week if you're playing along with us at home. This, however, has got a lot going on in it. It is the episode in which Raylan is framed as a dirty cop. We start with Sammy eating steak and calling in on his cell, which he knows is tapped, talking about Raylan being dirty, and that gets overheard by the FBI. And of course, that turns into almost a set piece in the marshal's office where you've got 2 things going on, because Quarles also murders the ex of what's Gary, also murders Gary on the lawn of Winona's house, even though Winona's not living there, which then makes Raylan a suspect in that. So you have the local homicide investigator and the FBI fighting over Raylan as their suspect.
Yeah, man, this was fun in that it finally got me thinking about, as much as we have enjoyed his swagger and his, doing the right thing by the wrong methods up until then, we are now seeing the very real problem with it. And you could tell Art is not unfamiliar with the need to bend the rules, but also Art is not willing to go down over, there's just sort of this don't even tell. That's the most striking moment to me, is the don't even tell me the truth, Raylan. Tell me the part of the truth that I need to know now. And part of it is kind of heartbreaking that I would say the person that knows him best professionally is essentially saying, I think you might actually be dirty, and if you are, I don't want to hear about it or know about it. And same thing with his, I was going to say cellmate, his cubicle mate, who they've had their back and forth about I'm supposed to take you downstairs. I guess I'm taking you downstairs, and then that's it. Fascinating. It's beginning to get really, really tense, and it's bringing back echoes. This is the first time I've felt echoes of the chess game from The Shield, and it's from a totally different perspective. It's not a reprehensible, redemptionless bad guy the way Vic Mackey is. It's somebody who is clearly a hero, give or take, who's brash and rough and takes the straight line, but now we're seeing the how easy he is to trap because of those things.
Yeah. And you have so many things building up against Raylan right now. You have the cash that Winona took, which is still out there in the wind, right? I thought that was going to come up in this episode, and it never did. So that's still out there twisting, and Art knows about it, and Art didn't even allude to it in this episode. You now have Raylan instructing in the disposal of evidence by getting rid of the gun, which was planted on his in the house, but he is now aided and abetted in the tampering of evidence by telling Winona to go get the gun. And the most dangerous of all is that he's got the gun in his house. And so at any point, somebody, what did he do? He hid it in a flower box or something?
It's like he just put it in a desk drawer, basically.
Yeah, exactly. At any point, his home gets searched, that gun gets found. So Raylan's got, we know he's good, right? But he's got all of these things out there that are mounting up that can be used against him.
I am really enjoying so much more Wynn Duffy as a character now that he's in this Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, plotting mechanism with Blondie McShooty face. I love that they're enacting this trap on there. All the villains have gotten more interesting now than ever.
Did you love the scene where Wynn is painting the room and Raylan shows up?
Oh yeah, and he's like sincerely annoyed, like that he's being bothered, and he's like,
"Look, I didn't want to paint this room. I should have people to do this, and now you're bugging me." And yeah, anybody who's painted a room,
I'm sad that I'm almost certain one or both of them is going to be dead by the end of the season. But for now, I'm enjoying it. I'm glad, that they're keeping Boyd Crowder's political struggles kind of in the background. There's a bit of a talking about who's going to be the sheriff and so on, and it's fine. What'd you think of that moment when drunk Raylan just kisses Ava?
Oh yeah. So what does that tell me? That tells me that Raylan's lonely.
Yeah.
Because that's what he does when he gets lonely, is he turns to Ava, and it tells me that Ava's moved on. There was a heartbeat of her going, well, that's nice that Raylan cares again, but she definitely was not interested in pursuing that. Whereas season 1, she would have hauled him off into the back corner.
Well, she's got a little bit of that Cersei Lannister, or actually Marjorie Tyrell is what she's got. She's like,
definitely
I want to marry a king. And then whatever king.
You're not feeling like a king right now, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm sorry. No. I mean, if you were a king, we could talk, but you're not looking very kingly right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also see the taking down a peg of Blondie McQuarrell's face. Quarrels gets let off the case, pulls his gun in anger, gets talked out of it, and then pops an oxytab rather than talking to his family.
And then, this is the moment. I mean, not that, he was already without redemption. He was already a bad guy. But now, weirdly, the fact that he's using now, we viewers respect him less. And then he goes to the one lingering on the video game map. There's been one power up just laying there the entire time, and he finally goes and be like, well, let me go get this power up. I got an army over here. Yeah, Quarrels and Limehouse teaming up. That's a power move right there. Yeah, well, and I think it's great because the moment I saw them, I'm like, oh, they complete each other. They bring each, there are parts of them that they're very similar, but also they have different strengths, and yeah.
And they don't want to operate in each other's theater. Quarrels doesn't want to run the holler, and Limehouse doesn't want to leave the holler. So there you go.
Yep.
Match made in heaven.
Yep.
I wish them all the happiness in the world.
And so it ended with the butterflies.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for us on Spoilerin Time this week. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Like I said, 2 episodes of Justified next week, and, of course, Mr. Robot. And who knows what else we may spring your way. We'll spoil you then.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.